You just got that connect, have a more sizzling, yeah.
And then stop.
Environment.
And then start and stop and stop and stop. Excellent. Tara. For 30 days and yes. Yes. And then this is
I always forget. They may have. That's great.
That's right.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of the meetings of the Township Council, established and adopted by the Township Council. The schedule designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using an electronic amplifying and recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record. Request all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device to be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison.
He has a work commitment.
Ms. Grace. Here. Mrs. Albright Troxel. Here. Mrs. Walters. Here. Mrs. Winters. Here. Mr. Vignon.
Here.
Mr. Mercado.
Present.
Mr. Carlemere.
Here.
Mr. Cardis.
He's ill.
Chief Harkins.
Here.
Mr. McGill.
Here. Ms. Eric. Yes.
Ms. Sarah. Here. And Carla Jackie. Here.
Welcome, Ms. Eric and Ms. Jeffy, for joining us today. Thank you. We'll now have our public portion. This is for agenda items only. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes. There's 15 minutes total for the first public portion. Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel.
Good evening.
Wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and holidays of the season.
Same to you, Mr. Polidoro.
Thank you. So, on the agenda is Resolution 23-11-294. Do you intend on moving forward with that?
Yes, we have
Okay.
received all the information from all 6 fire districts.
Okay. Unfortunately, when we go on the website, we pull up the agenda. What is missing on the resolution is all the pertinent information that the public would want to know as to what amounts are moving forward. I don't think that without that disclosure and transparency to the public, you should move forward with that, because unless you know where else to get this other than where you would have normally posted it, you have the resolution, you have no amounts. So I don't know how you're moving forward without the amounts. And did council see those amounts to be able to move forward on that?
Council has the amounts.
And why was it not published to the published for the public?
I'm gonna ask the clerk. In the past, have we done that, provided that?
No.
No?
I'm sorry?
No, in the past, that has not been provided. Is that something that has to be provided?
That I would refer to Mr. Carlin there.
So the statute requires each fire district to provide a resolution of the amount of salaries to each commissioner to the governing body. And the governing body has to do a resolution authorizing the approval, in a sense, formality that they've reviewed it. So it's statute reads subject to approval by the government.
I find that to be counter transparent. And before I lose all my time of the 3 minutes. So upon looking at the material that I did not acquire from the township website, one of our fire commissioners is going to a absolutely ridiculous amount of raise. That particular commissioner chair will be going from $34,316 to $89,316. All of our other fire districts commissioners generally warrant $4,000 to $6,000. I'm not quite sure why, but in the past already the 34,000 was just absolutely out of the ballpark compared to the rest of the districts. And I am also understanding, and because you didn't post it, there's no way for us to know that for sure, nor do I know that this full council knows that before voting tonight, that it is my belief that this same fire commissioner chair has $30,000 in full benefits that no other commissioner in the township has. My understanding is also that this benefits covers his wife, and is like a family plan that no other commissioner has in the township. It is also my understanding that this commissioner chairman also has the benefit of a phone at taxpayer expense and possibly a vehicle taxpayer expense. It is also my understanding that this fire commissioner and fire commissioner chair has two independent companies that he owns, has in the past, I'm not so certain recently, that is a company that boards up buildings after a fire and remediation.
Mr. Polidoro?
Yes,
Pause. We'll
Thank
see
you.
if anyone else wants to come up.
absolutely, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Ms. Hendrick, followed by Ms. Smithman and Mr. Sweet.
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale. In reading in ordinance 023-13, what is being changed in the personnel policy and procedures? Because there wasn't a copy attached to the agenda.
Each year, we're required, according to the GIF, Ms. Jeppy, would you like to speak on that?
We're part of the Camden County JIF, and every other year we're required to update the policy and procedures manual, and they basically give us language updates to all the federal and state regulations, and we amend them. But there's really no other township-specific policy changes that we're making.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking off of what Ray said, if there is something that the public would, if it's on the agenda, wouldn't you think that the public should have a copy of what's being proposed, so therefore the public could ask questions?
I'm going to defer to the clerk and also the attorney of what is required. Nancy?
If anyone wanted to view the personnel policy and procedures manual, you're more than welcome to view that. But as far as putting it as backup for a meeting, it is intended for, you correct me if I'm wrong, it is intended for employees and it is followed by employees of the township, not residents. So it is a public record, however, so if anyone wanted that record, it is here.
But if I had a question regarding this, let's say for instance, I would have to do that well before the meeting, so therefore it could be addressed, correct?
If you wanted to view the actual manual, that's correct. That's why it goes out on Thursday evening and is posted on Friday.
But if it goes out on Thursday evening and it's posted, you're not open on Friday for me to come to the office to request a copy.
You could definitely leave me a message or contact me on Friday, send me an email over the weekend at any time, and I would address that on Monday.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Smithman?
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on Millbrook Court. It's considered the lower section of the apartment complex. I didn't write down the ordinance number. There was a meeting here. I couldn't grab one of the agendas for today. The ordinance number for the salaries for the employees of the township. It had council, had the payment for the salary for everyone. Which one is that?
Their salary ordinance for the township residents, excuse me, township employees, I'm sorry.
Well, you live here too. I mean, that's a.
Yeah, we're gonna pay everybody, 0-23-15. You can grab the agenda there if you like, it's on the table there, Ms. Smith.
No, it looks kind of busy on that table.
Okay,
For that ordinance, I saw that the council members, the amount was a little more than $7,000.
no, it's $7,917, the vice president gets $8,089, and the president council $8,261.
Is that an increase? As I recall, it was council.
No, it has not been raised since 2006.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, it has not been raised since 2006.
Well, was it the year 2021? I believe it was warm. Councilman Hutchinson, who's not here today, Councilman Grace, and yourself, Councilman Mercado. I can't recall if Ms. Winters was there. Councilman Winters came to my apartment. They were knocking on everyone because the elections were coming up. You had said that you made $6,000 per year.
No.
Would you recall when
Oh, I knocked on your door, yes, in 2021.
it was 21?
But no, it's 8,000, no, we rounded off $8,000, but no, we don't make $6,000.
Oh, because I had asked, you had said that it was above your pay grade. So I had said, well, how much money do you earn? Not being disrespectful,
No,
just out of curiosity, and you answered rather quickly that you make $6,000 per year.
no.
I remember having sympathies because it is such a large responsibility and there's so much involved in it that you really can't put a set salary price on something. But there is one. And I thought that amount was $6,000 per year. That was that's what you had told me, that evening. I had spoken about the amount that people receive for nutrition, like what is considered the salary provided for the stipend for someone if they're in hard times to receive a government subsidy, the amount that they receive for their stipend, how it needs to be reevaluated. That was the conversation. And in that conversation, you had, like I said, I thought that you said you made about $2,000 less.
I don't recall that, and I was with Ms. Grace, Ms. Winters, and Mr. Mignone, but unfortunately, your time is up.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Mr. Sweet.
Good evening, Sam Sweet from Ariel. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
I see the aerial bid is being put back on the agenda. Is there any way, are there plans that we can get blueprints of? Our board of directors, like, can we get them in a PDF form? I know they were too big to actually scan, but are they someplace in a PDF? Somebody have them in a PDF or?
I'll get a copy for you.
Okay,
You want to send it to Mr. Delvecchio?
as well as myself and Mr. Curvan. I don't know if you have his
I'm
ad.
going to send it to the president, and then he can disseminate it.
Okay. You know he's just gonna send it right back to me as well. You know that, right?
I'm following the chain of command.
Okay, all right. With the salaries, this is the first reading, correct?
Yes.
Is that a separate talking?
There will be a hearing at the second reading of it.
But
You
do we
can
talk
spend-
about it?
You can spend some time on it now, if you like.
Well,
There
is there a
is a
second?
There is a hearing at the second reading, which will be on the 27th of December.
Okay. My question is, I know last year and again, seems to be no rhyme or reason on the high end of the salary increase. Some people are getting 13%, some people are getting 14%, some people are getting 12%, some are getting 11. Part-time people are going to hourly to, 30,000 a year. Some of the part-time people, I think the tax clerk is going from 14,000 to 30,000, which is a big bump up. Is there any rhyme or reason behind it? I know when we asked this question last year, they said you compared it to other townships. So was that done again this year? And if so, can we have the townships that was, like, what's the rhyme or reason behind some of the raises?
So again, these are ranges. This is
Mhm.
not the actual salary. These are ranges. And so last year, when you had asked that question, and we asked Ms. Jeppy, and she provided information about surrounding municipalities that we get compared to, provided some of that information. I believe this time, the same information was used. I don't believe there was a polling or surveying of these other municipalities. Is that correct?
It was repolled, but we used the
Repoll,
same,
okay.
we used the same, towns that I had pulled before. So some were updated, some were not.
Okay,
Can I get the listing of those towns? Would that be possible?
yes.
Okay, so do I just talk to her after the meeting?
I can provide it to you this week.
Okay,
I was off today, so.
no, that's fine, but I'll shoot you an email.
Yes.
Okay, and then with regards to the fire districts, it's my understanding that and I might be wrong on this, that council has really no say over the fire districts. It's kind of like you just are the middleman collecting the tax, and then you send it to the fire districts. So,
We see about the jump, but they're their own elected body. There is a election that takes place the third Saturday in February each year. There's not a big turnout for those things, but those are elected officials. These are all 6 fire districts. Their commissioners have passed resolutions with their salaries. These salaries are part of their budgets that are submitted to the Department of Community Affairs and approved by the Department of Community Affairs and also approved by the voters in each election in February. So,
yes.
say middleman, I would say yes.
Okay, so you have no say over what their budget is, per se.
No say over the budget at this stage. The only thing the statute requires is that the salaries of each commissioner is sent to the governing body for approval by resolution.
So somebody raising their salary, you can't say, no, you can't do that. Because it's already been voted on by the voters and the budget and all of that. Essentially, yes?
That's where the basic control is, in my opinion. The statute says that the fire district commissioners have to approve their salaries each year by resolution. That resolution that has a salary is in the statute, this is for the governing body to do a resolution approving the salaries of the fire.
So as long as their resolution is legal, you guys kind of just rubber stamp it. I don't mean rubber stamp it but that's really what you're doing, I guess. Is that correct?
But we have to vote on it. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Sweet. Time's
Thank
up.
you for allowing me to go over.
Mr. Polidoro, you have 2 minutes because it's exceeding our time.
Okay, so as going to that fire commissioners meeting, it's also my understanding that if the resolution does not pass and their budget does not pass, they've got to revisit that budget. The reason I'm bringing up all the items that are before this particular commissioner is that it's so out of range of everyone else, including all the perks that came with it. No other commissioner has. The health benefits at 30,000, that salary is out of range. Everything about this is out of range. If I didn't know any better, and as you indicated, not many people go to these fire commissioner meetings. Budgets may or may not be approved. Mostly they are because there's a very poor turnout. But you have the opportunity to turn that down and make them revisit it. And my question to council, with all that I've said, the average salary of our commissioners from one end of town to the other being between $4,000 and $6,000. None of you have a problem with this one individual going from 34,000, way above 6,000, to 89,316. None of you have a problem with that? It's just so out of whack. Anyone?
Mr. Polidori, you have to direct the
I-
questions here, but I'm going to
Right.
respond to that. And you were told at that meeting as well. He also serves as the administrator of District 85. And there is another district, I can name one, that does have an administrator that is making in that ballpark, $86,000 as an administrator. You can look that up on their budget for that particular district. So as I understand, Mr. Carl also serves as a solicitor, and he's also the administrator of Fire District 5.
That's correct. He serves as administrator.
But as business administrator, I asked him what his qualifications was. He said, well, I did it before. I've been doing it. That doesn't sound like qualifications. We've asked Tom Curtis. Tom Curtis is certainly qualified to do the budget. Quite frankly, the raise that you guys are getting, I'm okay with that. This is way, way out.
I'm not getting a raise.
Whatever raises are going throughout the township, everyone's entitled to a bump up. You work hard, and there's just some things you do that are deserving of that. I'm not seeing that here. I really, really urge you to table this, remove it, but that salary is out of, you know how many firefighters, how much beneficial that money would be to actual firefighters than a commissioner who has side businesses? It looks and smells awfully bad. And I urge you to either take it off, vote it down, don't let this pass. There's no good reason for it. It's out of line. Thank you again. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a safe holiday.
With that, we'll close the public portion.
Can I ask a question?
Public portion.
Okay.
How about we say that for the second?
Sure.
All right. Proclamation.
Drive sober or get pulled over 2023 year-end holiday crackdown. Whereas approximately 1/3 of all fatal traffic crashes in the United States involve impaired drivers. And whereas impaired driving crashes killed 11,654 people in the United States in 2020. And whereas impaired driving crashes cost the United States almost $44 billion a year. And whereas during the past 5 years, New Jersey's roadways experienced 33,798 crashes and 662 fatalities involving impaired drivers. And whereas an enforcement crackdown is planned to combat impaired driving, and whereas the year-end holiday season is traditionally a time for social gatherings, which include alcohol. And whereas the State of New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety has asked law enforcement agencies throughout the state to participate in the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2023 year-end holiday crackdown. And whereas the project will involve increased impaired driving enforcement from December 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2024. And whereas an increase in impaired driving enforcement and a reduction in impaired driving will save lives on our roadways. Therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Gloucester declares its support for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2023 year-end holiday crackdown from December 1st, 2023 through January 1st, 2024, and pledges to increase awareness of the dangers of drinking and driving.
Bid report, entertain a motion to accept the bid report.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Waive the reading, accept the minutes of workshop meeting November 13th, 2023, and regular session November 13th, 2023, and November 27th, 2023. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Next is the ordinance, a first reading. It's an introduction. The second reading will have a hearing. Ordinance 0-23-13, ordinance amending chapter 5 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Personnel Policy and Procedures. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is ordinance -23 14. It's a first reading introduction. They'll be hearing at the second reading. Ordinance amending chapter 2 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Administrative Code to include the following departments to be known and identified as Gloucester Township Department of Sewer Utility and Gloucester Township Department of Global Services. This encompasses the MUA now. The MUA is now under the township. I entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
There's a second on the question. Roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is ordinance 0-23-15. It's a first reading and introduction. There will be hearing at the second reading. Ordinance fixing the compensation of officers, employees of the Township of Gloucester and the County of Camden. And just a reminder, it is a range that is listed on this salary ordinance, unless otherwise noted. I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Ordinance, second reading for adoption, ordinance 0-23-12. I'm going to ask to have that, table. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll make it.
There's some additional information, that we need, and this is the mixed-use property, the old charter school on Church Street. They came before the redevelopment agency. There's some additional information that we need to move forward with this. So we have a table, motion to table, the first and second on the question. Roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes, motion to table. Old business, resolution 23-11-294. I entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
On the question. Roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Consent agenda. Any council member that would like to have any item removed from the consent agenda, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Regular agenda 23, resolution 23-12-329, resolution to make budget transfers between the appropriations and the calendar year 2023 general fund budget. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. Second?
On the question, roll call, please.
Ms. Grace.
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mr. Vignon.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. We did not receive any GTE Gov access emails this meeting. Now is our second public portion. This is for any item that the public chooses to address. Each individual is entitled to 5 minutes. There's 30 minutes total of the public portion. If an individual wishes to speak again, they can come up a second time once everyone else has spoken. Mr. Polidoro.
Good evening again, Council. Ray Polidoro from Ariel. When Ms. Troxel had a question regarding that resolution, you told her she could speak at the public portion. And then when you raised the vote on the question, when you called for a motion in a second, wouldn't that have been the opportunity for you to have her ask the question regarding what she was voting on, as opposed to having her ask at the second public portion?
I can speak.
Thank you, Mr. Polidoro.
I'm okay with that.
You are?
I certainly am.
Nice,
If
thank
I
you.
wanted to speak, I would.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Smith, followed by Ms. Coyne and Mr. Sweet.
Good evening, council. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on Millbrook Court. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas. From what I understand, it's Hanukkah this time of the year. We're in the middle of it. This is what I heard on the radio, so I don't really know. May I ask, who won the election? In November?
Who won the election in November for council or assembly or
For council?
for election? Mr. Mignon, Ms. Walters, Mr. Nash is sitting out there, and myself.
I had went to the Camden County Board of Elections on Wednesday, and they were unable to give me that information. They said that I had to make a Open Public Records Act request to find out who won the election. Found that very strange. So I figured I would ask just to make sure. I had made an overpayment by mistake for actually an Open Public Records Act. It's coincidental that it's the same term being used, two separate situations. How does that overpayment get refunded?
Ms. Dow,
How does the payment get refunded by resolution?
resolution, but in the form of payment. You need a check?
Check.
And how does somebody receive it?
Is mailed to your home, the address that we have on file.
It was not the address that was posted on the wall. The address actually wasn't locatable to my actual address, to my apartment, so I returned it to sender. Did Gloucester Township receive it back?
I'll check with the finance department, but at the same time, I got your address off of the Oprah request that you submitted in your handwriting.
Okay.
That's where I got your address from.
Oh, do you want me to show you the picture that I took of the envelope?
So that resolution was actually corrected after you made correction at the last meeting. I actually pulled your last Oprah request and copied your address from there and made the correction with Christy in the finance department. So if it did not go to the right location, that is because that's the location that was placed on your Oprah and your handwriting.
Oh, no, it went to the correct mailbox for my apartment, but it did not have the correct address listed on it.
So you returned it back.
I've put return to sender in case there's another Shaughnessy Smithman somewhere that lives in something very similar to my address. I said return to sender. It was a government check. I'm not going to
So
take it
even though
into my
made its
apartment.
way- It made its way to your mailbox and you returned it back.
That's correct. When
Okay.
you receive it back, I guess I'll have to inquire more about that. Thank you, Mr. Mercado, for recalling when you had been to my apartment. And the Historical Society was interesting to listen to. It's always I'm very grateful that people keep up with things like that. May I ask, do you know anyone by the name of Andrea? Have you ever, from like the 1980s?
Me,
Mhm.
Andrea from the 1980s?
From about the 1980s, have you ever at all? I don't think so, but that's why I'm asking you.
No.
Very good. Then you should make sure that you state that. It seemed that some of the conversation and the history that goes on and the insistence that you adhere to the history that will be given. I still cannot get my identity put back into place. I know that I'm not significant enough to have anybody defeat themselves for somebody else. I can certainly vouch for my entire family that lived in the state of New Jersey that they don't. So why would you do it for a member of a family that doesn't? They do it to me too. I guess that becomes the way. But the way that I've understood the last year and a half or so of meetings, it seemed that they will place an accusation of something that happened in history if you don't comply. So I just wanted to make sure. I didn't think that you knew anybody named Andrea. I had nothing to do with any type of stairwell or anything. I was pretty sure about that. I just wanted to make sure some of the behaviors that I noticed that you would reflect very lightly without even knowing it are things that have to do with a high crime. And I know that it doesn't have anything to do with you. So I wanted to make sure that the entire council knows and anyone that can hear that it would have nothing to do with, are you still President Mercado?
Yeah.
Then make sure it has nothing to do with President Mercado, because the accusation was placed on my dad. And I don't want that to happen to anybody else.
Okay.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Coyne.
Good evening, Denise Coyne. I have a statement I'd like to read. Residents are private citizens. We are not public employees. We do not answer to our elected officials. We have the freedom to express our opinions, ask questions, and move freely, a freedom protected by federal law under the Constitution. When council members single us out for asking questions, leaving a meeting, suggesting a need for us to change our hearts, or displaying dismissive behavior during public meetings, it constitutes bullying and tyrannical behavior. Expressing dissatisfaction and challenging decisions are within our rights, and our motives are not subject to scrutiny. Accusations by council members accusing us of illegal activities without proof, or labeling someone a stalker for asking legitimate questions, are disrespectful and unacceptable. Implying that we are racist for questioning aspects of low-income developments is also inappropriate. Stating that it's not always about the message, but sometimes it's about the messenger, is also disrespectful. Residents should be able to express concerns without fear of reprisals or dismissive attitudes. At the last council meeting, a councilwoman said, "We do not know about all of her acts of kindness performed behind the scenes. She is unaware of ours." The difference is that we are not council members and we are not expected to attend events. Helping others should be a basic responsibility of being human rather than a grandiose accomplishment to be paraded. Boasting about acts of kindness should not be used to overshadow the serious concerns raised by us. Township employees are paid to help us. It is their job. We aren't complaining about trivial matters. I've never heard any of us complain that council did not give candy to schools. Our concerns are about issues such as unaffordable taxes, lack of accountability, rights violations, and disrespect. There are no prerequisites for us to email questions in about agenda items in the advance of a meeting to be eligible for a proper response. We expect public employees and council members to be well-versed in agenda items and to provide clear, informed responses to questions raised. If they fall short, the fault lies with them. We expect responses to all questions, not just routine matters such as street lighting, but also clarifications on significant financial issues like potential savings from taking over the MUA. We should not have to conduct due diligence before asking questions. The onus of due diligence lies with the council members. A councilwoman claimed that a resolution was passed years ago that prevented political flyers from being in the municipal building or the parking lot. However, upon investigation, no such ordinance or resolution exists. This incorrect information discourages people from exercising their First Amendment rights and should be rectified. A councilman mentioned at the last meeting that he's never heard about our First Amendment rights more than he has in recent months. As long as we feel our rights are being infringed upon, this will be continued to be brought up. We owe it to future generations to safeguard our rights by continuing to exercise them. If the councilman is fatigued by hearing about our First Amendment rights, he should strive to honor the oath he took to uphold the Constitution. In a town where the majority aligns with the Democratic Party, it's striking that every council member, administration official, and board member is a Democrat, leaving non-Democrat residents without representation. In this environment, the demand for transparency, accountability, and respect becomes even more critical. Unlike many political systems that incorporate checks and balances, Gloucester Township lacks such safeguards against the concentration of power. Here, we the residents serve as checks and balances. We are committed to fulfilling our duty to question, challenge decisions, and hold our elected representatives accountable despite your attempts to silence us and bully us. We are the only thing standing between democracy and tyranny. Council President once said that we are still here in response to residents' complaints. That sentiment can be echoed back to council members. If council members find it challenging to be respectful, accountable, and transparent, they are free to leave public service. No one is making them stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sweet, you had your hand up?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sam Street from Ariel. I want to go back to the de-escalation machine that we purchased. We got a grant for that. And it was back in February that we got, this council authorized the grant for it. Do we know where the money came out of, where the money was spent?
It was spent out of the grant fund.
Out of the grant fund, but we didn't get the grant until just recently.
It's a reimbursement-based grant.
Okay, so how does that work?
You put it as a receivable on your balance statement, and when you get the grant money, you spend the money, you submit all the paperwork to whichever organization granting you the money, and then you reimburse the receivable. So it's set up as a receivable.
All right, so, but we've been told several times that we cannot recognize any grant money until it's actually received. Now, you just said we can put it down as a receivable.
You put it down as a receivable on your balance statement.
Does that hit the budget?
As long as you have an award letter, some grants are reimbursement based and some grants you receive the money up front. But as long as you have an award letter in your hand, you can put it as a receivable in your balance statement.
Okay, so then going back to a resolution approving the application for the playgrounds, so the playgrounds not fall into that? Because here's the same thing, on the same day, we got a grant for $586,000 for the playgrounds with a resolution here for $586,000. But yet we borrowed for those playgrounds. But here's the grant coming in. So is that a different grant as opposed to the de-escalation grant that we got? Or are they the same grants?
Green Acres.
One's a Green Acres grant and one was through the Department of
Justice.
Justice, I believe.
Okay, but is the grant from Green Acres a receivable grant that we can recognize?
Yeah.
So if we could recognize it, why are we borrowing for that money, for the playground? And again, let me just state that I'm not against playgrounds, okay? I'm just wondering why we're borrowing for the playgrounds when we have a grant coming in. I'm all for playgrounds for the kids.
So can she respond to?
I just wanted to make that.
Because at the time the capital ordinance was done, we did not have the award letter in hand.
That project list was, I believe, okayed in March, and this is as February 27th.
What says February 27th?
This authorization of approving for the grant,
Except for the Green Acres or the?
for the Green Acres grant, yes. At the same time was the police grant, so the police grant doesn't get,
Well,
and I understand that, what you're saying about the receivable.
I believe the resolution that you're looking at is the application of the grant. Just because we applied for a grant doesn't mean that we're automatically awarded the grant.
But this next grant over here, signing an authorization with the contract, and then, let's see, agenda. And the original one is, hold on. I need a table up here sometimes.
No.
Just so I can have this there. This is authorizing the contract, and then the next one says on 71, authorizing the acceptance of a grant award. But this one is the application, so applications, but we get those, every time we apply for them, we get the grants. Most of the, for every playground, we've gotten the grant. In the last 6 years, every playground, we've gotten the grant. So,
Anything else?
you mentioned something with the fire districts about he's acting as a business administrator, but just because he's acting as a business administrator, he's not the business administrator because he's not qualified. In order to be a business administrator, don't you have to have the qualifications?
I don't know if the actual title is a business administrator. It's called the administrator of the fire district.
Every year, the fire districts go through an organization meeting, just like a governing body does. They appoint their chair, vice chair, They appoint commissioners to be in charge of personnel, commissioners to be in charge of business administrator, and that's where he is appointed. That's not the salary because he's a commissioner. That's a salary because they named him as the business administrator.
But in order to be a business administrator, don't you have to have the qualifications to be a business administrator?
I can't answer that. They make their motion to decide who's going to be their department personnel, business administrator. Once the commissioners vote on that.
But isn't the business administrator?
If they didn't vote for him, they would vote for another commissioner to do that job.
Okay, but again, isn't the business administrator, like Mr. Cardis has qualifications to be a business administrator. I could not be a business administrator for Gloucester Township. I don't have the qualifications. Is it not the same?
Commissioners make that appointment. I can't answer that question. Commissioners make that appointment.
Mr. Sweet?
Thank you.
Hold on. We'll start it off. Ms. Smith, been done with? All right, hold on. Ms. Hendry? If you haven't spoken during this public portion, Ms. Smith, and you have. Ms. Hendry?
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale. Quick question. You have listed the old business with the compensation. Wasn't that pulled off of the agenda in November?
Yes.
So wouldn't that be like new business? Because it was never discussed in November.
We pulled it off, it's old business. That's how we had it, it's old business.
So wouldn't that be kind of like new business, like new old business? Okay. And then quick question. From my understanding, you had approved this, correct? This resolution. So you're confirming, the compensation for all 6 fire districts. And not knowing a lot, but from my understanding with the discussion that happened tonight, did you guys give the stamp of approval for somebody to basically double their salary?
This individual, as I explained to Mr. Polidoro, and we just had a discussion with Mr. Sweet, is acting as the administrator of the fire district.
Okay,
There is another fire district that has a full-time administrator.
okay,
This individual is operating that role, going to that department every day as the administrator of the fire district.
okay. So then quick question. So once he decides, I'm not going to do this anymore, then is he going to go back down in salary? Or is now that he says, I'm getting paid for this, he's going to do this like for life?
I can't answer for that.
No, if for some reason this commissioner says, I'm not doing this job anymore.
As the administrator.
As the administrator.
As the administrator.
He's just a commissioner.
he's just-
And then he'll get his commissioner salary.
Yes, and then the board has to vote for somebody else for that position, either another commissioner or they hire somebody.
Okay, do you think doing this where somebody's like double dipping in a sense is kind of setting a precedence for the other districts to do the same, and then it'll be like astronomical?
That's their structure. And that's their structure for the last 10 or more years.
So then this individual, did he just assume this role, or has he always done this role?
He's done that role for about 15 years.
And so all of a sudden he just woke up and said, dude, I should get paid for this?
No, there's been a salary attached to it for as long as I can remember.
But he just started getting compensated for this dual role in a sense.
He's been compensated for that role because he's been at their reorganization meeting. That commissioner has been appointed a commissioner in charge of that department personnel or business administrator. He's assumed that duties. It must be for the last 15 years.
So just recently, he's going to be paid as he should be.
No, he's been paid. Now, the salary has changed over the years. He's been paid a salary above all other commissioners to do that job for the last 15 years or more.
So that's why it was the first salary, but now he's getting another bump up.
That's an increase in this.
So then now who's responsible for paying this increase?
It's in their budget.
But who, like the tax, it comes from our taxes.
The residents of District 85.
The-
So there is an election, there is a budget that's voted on the third Saturday in February. There's elections that take place. That's who pays for that portion.
So what would have been the cons to say, no, we're not going to do this? Like, what would have been the cons for the council to vote against it?
This is me personally, they're elected officials, those fire commissioners, 5 of them. It's a 5-0 vote. They know the ins and outs of their operation there at Fire District 85. We're not intimately involved in the fire service, or fire districts at all.
So there basically were no cons to vote it down, as Mr. Paldor kindly asked to table it, to further look at it, to further research it. But that request was ignored.
No, I was tabled at the previous meeting because I needed some additional information.
So you received the additional information.
And I received that additional information, and all of our council members have the information of all 6 fire district salaries and what they're paying the commissioners.
In the future, would the salaries be listed on the agenda so therefore the public could see it, or no?
I'll defer to, and see the council, the solicitor and the clerk as far as providing that information.
The statute only requires that the governing body gives an account of each resolution from each of the 5 to 6 districts and stating what their commissioner salaries are. Then the council has to do a resolution authorizing the approval of their salaries. Doesn't have to list them all because they've already gotten all the information. They all have to see that information before that resolution is voted.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hendry. Is there anyone else that has not spoken yet that would like to speak? Ms. Smithman?
Good evening, council. My name is Shaughnessy Smithman. I live in the SDK Millbridge Gardens apartment complex on Millbrook Court. It's apartment 341. Thank you for allowing me to speak a second time. If I could, since it was at the previous council meeting, it was a resolution for the refund for an overpayment that I had made. May I show what arrived so that it's understood? Is that possible?
Sure.
Thank you.
Shaughnessy Smithman, 1331 Millbridge Road, apartment 341.
I see. That's how you really want to request. And that's how I corrected the last
Go
time.
right there, please. Ms. Smith, here's an idea. How about we have that check available for you at the clerk's office? So we can pick that up.
Well, no, I don't want any extraordinary circumstances to be made, but that address,
So we're going to incur another cost sending that to you. So why don't we, when you come here to the next meeting, we can make that available to you. Is that
no, thank
fine?
you. I would like for it, if it's all the same, I would like for it to be sent to my apartment, if that is the proper procedure. But I would like for the correct address to be placed on there. My address is 1341 Blackwood Clementon Road, also known as County Route 538, I believe. It's apartment 341. It's located in Clementon, New Jersey.
That is the same address that I just looked at.
No.
Okay, no, please go back.
Don't
Ms.
go back.
Smithman, please go back.
The address written on here merged, oh, excuse me, would you mind to review
No,
this?
I don't need to see it.
Well, you're prohibiting me from going up. What was the address that you read?
Saw the address.
Okay, well, what does it say?
Ms. Smithman, please continue.
Okay, please tell me what you saw if you're not going to
Ms.
prohibit.
Bowers wrote down your address. We'll resend it to you again.
Well, can you please,
We'll resend it. I'm not going to repeat it. We're going to send it to you again.
well, could you
And
please,
you return it again, we'll send it back to you again.
could you please tell me what she wrote down this time since it was incorrect the first?
1341 Blackwood Clementon Road, apartment 341, Clementon, New Jersey, 08021.
It's also written as 341, my apartment number, followed by Millbridge Road. Even though I live on Millbrook Court, I was told that the entire SDK Millbridge apartment complex is to write their address with their apartment number followed by Mill Bridge Road, no matter what street you live on in the apartment complex.
Which address exactly would you like this sent to?
When letters were sent,
341 Blackwood Clementon Road, apartment 341, Clementon, New Jersey, 08021, is that where you would like it sent?
I would like for it to be sent to the address where it arrives at my apartment.
It
Okay, so
arrived at
can
your
you tell
apartment.
me,
But they wrote on here, the 1341, she did not follow that by.
it came to you,
Did you write it
so
down?
I'm confused as to why it came to you, but it's wrong. So would you please slowly say where exactly you would like it to be received?
341 Millbridge Road, Clementon, New Jersey, 08021.
341 Millbridge Road.
Even though I live on Millbrook Court, but you can't write that.
So we're forgetting 1341 Blackwood.
We're not forgetting it. It's just I was told that letters will be returned. When I had letters trying to be sent to that address from my doctor's office, they said that the building was abandoned. It is not. Since I cannot prevent that, I was told by the United States Postal Service that it is now to be written.
So
Yeah,
the postal office told you that was wrong, but you believe that's the address.
They said that it will get to the apartment no matter what,
You
but
believe that's the
And it
address.
did get to the
But
apartment.
you merged the two ways to write the address. You put 1341 and you did not follow that by the County Route 538. You followed it by the Millbridge Road. You combined the two, so that address exists even less.
But if you received it to take a picture of it, but you're telling me it was the wrong address.
I couldn't be certain if there was somebody else named Shaughnessy Smith then. I wasn't going to take that. Oh, and nobody is biting anything. Make sure that you reinforce that within yourself, because that is where the accusation will be made. Nobody is biting anyone.
I have no idea.
It's a catchphrase that
Thank you.
people,
Have a good evening.
is for your benefit.
Thank you. Ms. Coyne's our last speaker of the evening.
Denise Coyne, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but are you able to explain to the residents why 2 districts have a fire or district administrator and 4 districts do not?
Mr. Carl, it's up to the commissioners, whether they want to hire a full-time business administrator or circulate that duty among commissioners. Some of your districts, work is a lot less than some other districts, so they don't have full-time employees.
So the amount of work that is required, does that equate to the size of the district?
It's the commissioner's choice. Commissioners know their businesses, what their demands are. That district, as some of the other districts that have full-time personnel department, have career firefighters. And District 5 has career firefighters besides volunteer firefighters.
But you made a comment about the amount of work.
That's up to the commissioners, it's not.
Right, but I wanted to ask, does the amount of work equate to the size of the district or to whether or not they have full-time firefighters?
That's a commissioner's choice. I can't answer that question. They're the ones that have to evaluate how their district runs. What are the responsibilities of the person that they're putting into that position?
So the amount of work does not equate to the size
I
of the
can't
district.
answer that question. It's up to the commissioners. And their meetings are open public meetings. Somebody can go there and ask them that question. They have to make the determination as to why one district has a full-time business administrator at a certain salary and other commissioners have their commissioners do the job.
Okay, but we have 6 fire districts in the township. So you're telling me I would have to go to 6 district meetings to determine who has a commissioner, who has an administrator, who doesn't, why they have them and why they don't?
You can look at their budgets, you can, their open public meetings and records, this is just as the government is, you can ask for their records by an open request and they'll provide it to you, you'll see who has full-time employees and who does not.
But that's not going to explain to me why they have an administrator, correct?
But you can go to the meeting and ask the commissioners why they feel it's necessary to have a full-time job doing a Department of Personnel or business administrator.
And do some have both?
My recollection, the business administrator does the job of the personnel director also.
Okay, so the townships, the Fire District 5's website states that that gentleman is a personnel director. Doesn't say he's an administrator.
That's the job, that's how they classify that position. That's the title they give. Another district has a business administrator that also has a supervision of personnel. Administrator is called a business administrator that also does personnel supervision.
So are there any rules that regulate any of this, or they just get to decide what they want to do and there's no rules governing it?
Department of Community Affairs. Yeah, all their budgets are reviewed by Department of Community Affairs also. They have auditors and just as municipal government, so.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. That will close the second public portion, polling of directors.
Mr. Carlin,
Nothing to report.
Ms. Zarrett,
Nothing to report.
Mrs. Jeffy,
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins.
So I wanted to get council up to speed. We had an incident on Friday where an officer was injured, had to go to Cooper Hospital. The officer's recovery, he's still going through, he's still injured. He's getting further medical tests, but just thought it was important to let you know because it was quite a scene. We had, this person had been stealing packages, which gained notoriety as we were trying to locate her. The officers did a good job, located her in a certain area. We had information, and she chose to run with two of her children in the car. So we did not pursue the vehicle because of that. She had a stolen tag on her car also as well. But just wanted to let you know the officer is doing well. He's recovering, but it was a very close call. But the department came together very well. They continue to investigate. We're proud that the U.S. Marshal Service, who are our partners, were able to apprehend her in Gloucester County today, so to bring some closure to the incident. So it's been receiving a lot of notoriety. I just felt it was something important for you to know about. That being said, we received a lot of support from the public, which we appreciate. Got a lot of good information as we were trying to locate her. So we're very pleased with, we had a lot of good people coming forward. That being said, just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and I'll see you at the next meeting.
Chief, can I ask you a quick question? Any advice to our residents with porch pirates and packages?
Yeah. So the obvious things to do are, the camera systems are a good deterrent, whether a doorbell camera or whatnot. But, what we found is they're very opportunistic, these thieves. They're often driving around where we have dense residential areas, either apartment complexes or dense. And they're, in many cases, it's just dumb luck. This past week was Cyber Monday. We had a lot of packages being delivered. So there's a higher percentage of packages out. So what we recommend is if you have a delivery, make sure you get the notifications that you do receive a delivery. If you have something of significant value, that to try to make arrangements for someone, whether it's a neighbor, a family member, if at all possible, to pick up your packages and whatnot. We've been very aggressive. That was kind of some of the news media that picked up on. We do have bait packages out and about. We've done this for several years. We've had success with it. We've done it on bicycles. We've done it on a motorcycle that we broke up a auto theft ring. And we've done it with packages. So, we're being as proactive. We analyze where the problems are, where we have a higher percentage. It's, predictability. We try and do predictability and where we may have a problem and use that as a deterrent. And that was part of our philosophy of getting that message out. And we think it's been successful. Even though these cases have received some notoriety, I believe we've seen a decrease. We'll see how at the end of the year we have had a decrease from past years from these porch pirate activities. So again, just if you have high value stuff coming, you have to make arrangements. It's just not worth it. We've had someone where we investigate that dressed up in an Amazon outfit. We're still working that case, and that's probably could be a past employee, could be sometimes internal problems of letting people know, especially with the value of the packages that were stolen there. But you know, for the most part, I could say they are few and far between. It's one of those crimes that we do happen to catch on camera often because of the camera systems that we have. That's the first line of defense. We'd also tell our residents to report it to us. We find out later often so many people don't report it. They just, you know, yeah, they just try and get the refund or whatnot. But that is always a key piece of the puzzle often. If that person stole from you, they're also going around stealing from others. So that piece of information that we can get is often critical. And you know, we're going to do everything that we can to combat that problem. So, but you know, the camera systems is the biggest deterrent. Good lighting, having a porch or somewhere kind of be hidden, and usually, you know, you can get to know your delivery people, and they for the most part, they do try to hide the packages whenever possible. The apartment complexes becomes more difficult, but the other option is that there's a pickup service. Amazon has it, Wawa's, for instance. And that's always an option. That's pretty secure as far as the package getting delivered there. And you can set that up to pick up your package through a lock combination set. So thank you.
Mr. McGill? Ms. Grace?
Thank you for your comments and letter. Have a safe holiday and enjoy yourself with your families.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes, I did want to make a comment about all the questions about the fire budget. One of the things I always do, and I highly recommend you all do, is if you have any questions about the budget or before you're going to vote for your fire district, I would suggest you call them and make an appointment to sit down and ask them about the budget. And if you have any questions, ask them, because they can answer them exactly for you. And it would save you a lot of time and stress, because you would know the answers right away, even before you even vote on anything. So that was the recommendation I was going to make. I wish you all a happy holiday. I hope you all got to the tree lighting ceremony. It was very nice. And there were a lot of little elves that I see up here who did a wonderful job, and it was just a nice event. And have a great holiday, whatever your holiday may be.
Mrs. Walters?
Just thank you, everybody, for coming out. Hope everybody has a safe holiday season.
Mrs. Winters?
So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and have a safe and happy holidays.
Mr. Mignon?
Last couple of weeks, I read some unfortunate article about involving the National Ball Hockey Association, where they felt the need to lock out GTHA, Gloucester Township Hockey Association, from their nationals and the tournaments that run rampant starting in the new year. It's unfortunate. We have 700 players, boys and girls, that play for the organization, and they are extremely successful. They are extremely well coached. And the National Ball Hockey Association got together and felt the need to exclude them from these tournaments because they're winners. And that's unfortunate that these boys and girls won't get that opportunity to play in those type of tournaments because they win, because they're successful, because they're professional when they show up at the other rinks. And I just wanted to put that out there, that I'm disappointed in the National Ball Hockey Association for allowing that. With that said, GTHA has paired up with some other organizations to make sure that the skilled kids of GT get the chance to play with other towns, and have made some other tournaments so the boys and girls can get that opportunity to experience the tournament season. This is one of those tournaments that Councilwoman Michelle Winters will talk about, that we get thousands of people that'll show up in May because we host nationals, because we win it. It's good for the township, but unfortunately, parents got a chance to make a decision that will not benefit our children. So happy holidays all. Have a great one. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Thank you to the Blackwood Fire Department for the Blackwood Christmas Parade, and also to our police department for keeping us safe with the wonderful event. Thank the mayor's office and those that worked on the Christmas Village and the tree lighting ceremony this past Saturday. Also to the rec department for their Santa brunch that took place this Saturday as well. I want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad. And our next meeting will not be 2 weeks from today. It will be on the 27th, which is a Wednesday. So 2 days after Christmas. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor? Have a great evening.
Yes. There's parts in there in your bag. You're welcome.